Welcome to a special episode of the Nero Show featuring Patrick Broe, the Lantern Rouge himself. This is a super fun chat where we chat about Patrick's own vlogs and his fitness journey. We have some fun at some cycling brands' expense. But we're going to start with a chat about what cycling broadcasting looks like in 2024 and how legal and sometimes illegal YouTube channels might fill the void. All right, let's get into it. So one way or another, LR, I think 2024 is going to be a big change in the way we all consume cycling, or maybe it won't be a big change. I think that's maybe what we want to have a bit of a chat about. But you put a tweet up during the week around how people are watching racing in 2024. Maybe we can have a little bit of chat about where this is headed.
Selfishly, of course, when GCN Plus shut down, I thought, "Ooh, how's this going to affect? Will less people listen to the podcast or watch my highlight videos if less people have access to the race?" And also, I definitely think they've been a big part of what I've seen in a boost in cycling interest since the pandemic when it got launched. And I was thinking, because I'm here in Australia at the moment, and I'm pretty sure Australia is the worst territory, what is going to replace GCN Plus? Because, a lot of people in Europe see my tweet, they're like, what's the problem? We just go back to Eurosport Player or Discovery Player or Sportster or whatever. But the reality is in Canada, the US and Australia, the coverage is bad. I guess I really think there has to be. I'm actually writing a paper on this. I got to get it finished before I come back to Europe in a week and a half. Every other sport of a comparable size has a backup streaming platform owned by the major stakeholders. So because no one wants to buy, Channel 7 do not want to buy the ATP 500 events. They want to buy the Australian Open. Someone wants to buy Wimbledon, i.e. the Tour de France, i.e. the domestic race. That is exactly the same in cycling. They got no interest in showing ATP 500, showing an event in Toulouse. So the ATP has their own streaming platform that hardcore fans go and buy a subscription for. And if they can make that work technologically, financially, how come the race organizers, Giro dell'Appennino, GP Marseillais in 9 days, how is there not a platform, and I guess it'd be the UCI that would need to do it, an equivalent platform?
The tweet that you put up had that illegal, I'm guessing it's illegal, stream on YouTube of each of the stages. And they had the views there. Let me bring it up, because even just looking at the views that's getting,
fresh channel. Literally, he started from zero like a week ago.
And he or she has actually deleted the prior streams, because I'm only seeing stage 6 on the channel.
Yeah, that's the live views.
So that one from today is on 12,000 views,
and that's delayed. It's more than that.
So even that would be should be monetizable.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ironman triathlon do it when they have when Kona's on. They have their race is on YouTube, and I'm guessing it's paid for by sponsors, because there's sponsors popping up. The sponsors in the banners down in the lower third and up the side. So that's making money for the sponsors. It's not just making money through subscriptions for the end user, but for the people that are sponsoring your event. It's also eats itself that way.
And it's not just that. It's if you don't go to the effort to make sure the race is viewable in as many territories as possible, I think that's like a breach of the whole, goes into the actual economics of cycling. The covenant is the teams get no revenue share, but they're going to pay rider salary and come send a team to your race to get exposure. And you're going to have the good riders at the race, so you can sell that to your sponsor's race organizer. And if you don't make sure that race is viewable in as many territories as possible, then, okay, it's fuck all Australians watching, whatever X race, Tour de Hungary, let's say. But Jayco are doing that. And they're sending a team there, and they've actually sent a good team there in previous years. And those 10,000 Australians, or however many would watch, that's actually a lot of people watching. So I think it goes into and that's why I actually sometimes commend the Tour, because I think they sell those rights cheap. because they sell it to free-to-air broadcasters almost everywhere. But that's the deal, is that imagine if the tour was all paywalled, the teams would be screwed.
Mm. So the reason that's not happening, you say it's partly because of the UCR, is it the individual organisers? Because I know a lot of the races in Asia are put up on YouTube. I watch most of the Asia tour when they're on all kinds of either Facebook, YouTube most of the time. So they seem to do it. But is the races that aren't doing it, is that UCI, or is it on the organisers to do that?
It's on the organisers. Yeah, it's on the organisers. Now, there is an expectation in the UCI rules that a World Tour level race has some sort of adequate coverage. That's not really defined. Like Tour de Pologne is a World Tour race and basically had very limited coverage outside of Poland, because I think there was a dispute between the organiser and Eurosport 2 years ago. Didn't change anything. All the teams still have to go, still have to send a team. So it's on the organisers. They have like a body, a group, just like there's a riders union, there's a teams union, AIGCP, and there's also a race organisers union. They're one option, but I'm not sure how much they really do. I think basically GCN Plus shut down and they didn't really understand what that meant for their race rights in a few countries.
Do you think, like, okay, it's all good and well for us sitting here and getting on our YouTube high horses and saying, just slap it onto YouTube and we'll all be happy and we'll all kumbaya because everyone can see racing. But like, this is cycling we're talking about. Okay, maybe this is me being cynical, but there's a pretty obvious, clear lack of direction to want to get involved with anything on YouTube from the sort of organising stakeholders involved for years now. And so for us to kind of sit here and say, look, there's an audience for this to happen, it'd be good. It's good for cycling, et cetera, et cetera. I just think of those boys in Switzerland, and I just can't see them ever getting around to this, because it's so, like, even you're watching the coverage now, it's just so TV. Do you know? I know that. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like, it's It's just, it could be 1984 watching some of this telecast, and I'm not having a go at the commentators again, like whatever.
We have the technology in place now, already in the tour, but it should be in other races, where you should automatically be able to see in the back end if a rider's crashed. So in the tour, they have the Dimension data supplied speed trackers. If you're looking at a Group 1 and then all of a sudden 10 riders' speed goes to 0 and stays at 0, you can just read off that list of 10 riders. XYZ, they all crashed immediately. Yeah. The technology exists in the tour already. And that's, people are still trying to peer through, shots. So that stuff is like, that's already there. But to your point, it's sad and like I shouldn't be this way, but I've kind of given up a little bit. Like, I've tried the last couple of years to go to minor race, I'm not talking the Tour de France, I'm talking minor race organisers where they don't have agreements in certain territories. I'm like, listen, I'm asking I'll pay for it as well. I was like, let me stream the race. I know it'll get good views. I can send you all the analytics. I'm still yet to have a race organizer let me upload a full file of a historical race paid for.
Right.
And so that, by the way, I know I'm whinging, and they'll have basically a bad agreement with their reseller of their rights, and then they'll be like, not possible, and then I'll just type in YouTube, Tour of Flanders 2021, and there's a 3-hour file uploaded. and I'm like, well, and so I'm just like, we're not talking the same language here. You just can do what you want to do. That illegal stream that I tweeted about, you can kill that immediately by just in the right territories uploading your own stream. Not in all territories, just for the ones where people can't have access to the footage. So a lot of people were in Latin America, I think, watching that stream, and I'm not sure they had good options or in certain countries to watch. So that was what I was saying, is you're never going to, like, it's been proven, the internet's been around for a long time, you cannot defeat piracy by doing whack-a-mole, trying to content claim the only way is to provide an access, even paid, to the people that want to watch.
I just want to ask you off the back of that, Patrick, about this Valtteri Bottas thing, and
I
also
heard you guys talking about this.
Not just him, but also the promotion of the gravel race that was on at the same time as the Tour Down Under in the commentary of the actual Tour Down Under. There wasn't a single day I watched the stage where Valtteri Bottas and that Rattle Gravel event wasn't mentioned. And also the only other time I saw the Tour Down Under being talked about outside of the race stream was on the project, which is in Australia. It's a kind of a news 1 hour show, current affairs kind of thing, and it was mentioned on there. Valtteri Bottas was on there with Tiffany Cromwell speaking about the event. So the only time really that I saw the Tour Down Under get mentioned was in relation to Valtteri Bottas being there. And just in terms of like the streams and the things like that, how big is cycling? Because when the Tour de France is on, there's all these articles that come out, and I saw people tweeting back in July that, it's the biggest sporting event in the world, or it's the top 5 sporting events in the world. Now, they didn't actually outline how they calculated that. Was it viewers? Was it money? Etc., etc. But it was articles sort of putting it out there as the biggest sporting event. And I'm just watching this race play out in this sport, and I'm going, we are got to be much smaller than we think we are, based on what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, there's the Nielsen ratings, or the actual ratings are usually much lower than, like, sometimes you see ridiculous figures like touted. I think with the Bottas thing in Australia, the reality is that he is way bigger in Australia than any cyclist in terms of people knowing an F1 driver versus Jonas Vingegaard or Tadej Pogacar. Maybe that's wrong, but I think. Whereas in Western Europe, I don't know. I don't know if he's much bigger than... It probably is, yeah, bigger. Yeah, he is. Like, you look at his Instagram, he is bigger than what any cyclist, right? So, and so I guess to your point, why are they speaking about Bottas all the time? It's like, well, because he can get on the project and at least talk about an event adjacent to the TDU. Whereas Simon Yates is not getting on the project. So that's, I guess, why the race organizer knows it plays. But yeah, I guess it's good. I guess it is good for the race that he's there overall. Like, maybe it could be a bit nauseating if you just want to watch the race, but I think it is good for the race overall.
But is your point, Jesse, more that, like, here's an F1 driver, whatever, he's into cycling, all good, but that's the only way you can cut through in the media because our sport is so small that we need someone from outside who's not even actually sort of doing the sport as such or the race as such to promote it to a level to get it onto commercial TV. Is that sort of what you're saying?
Yeah, sort of along the lines of that, or maybe I'm not necessarily pointing fingers at anyone. I just find it internally quite sad that the most exciting thing seemingly happening around the Tour Down Under is someone from another sport's here. It's like, I find
Taylor
it really
Swift
sad.
NFL? You anti-Swift footage in the NFL games, Jesse?
Yeah, Bottas is not Taylor Swift. That I just thought, we're a sport that has the Tour de France, and we're all wetting ourselves over Formula One driver. To me, maybe my point is more that it is just a bit of a sad reality check as opposed to me getting angry or anything. I mean, the promotion of that Rattle Gravel event at a road event, that actually bugs me because there's other road-based events that were on for the Tour Down Under that didn't get a mention, like the crits that I think it's Norwood Cycling Club are running them, aren't they, Chris?
Yeah.
Or pretty much the entire Tour Down Under, which is if you can't get entry to the Tour Down Under, you're a national level rider, domestic rider, you go in and you enter the Norwood crits. And it's really high-level fields. It sells out. And it didn't get a mention once. And yet, the commentators are banging on about this Rattle Gravel every time I turn the stream on. And it just it bugged me. Because they should be internally promoting the other road events, not a gravel event.
Yeah, but they probably don't own them.
Yeah. But do they own? I don't think they own Rattle Gravel either. I mean, maybe. Yeah, we'll see next year. I'm guessing based on how much they were promoting it, it'll be part of the Tour Down Under. I'm guessing they're going to be absorbed, and it'll all become one part of the umbrella. I
guess your point as well, Jesse, was that like if cycling is so big, when 10 billion people watch the Tour de France, then it should be bigger, right? And I guess those numbers are you got to look at like the correct numbers from like Sports Pro Media are generally good, but the numbers are solid. Like they are solid, but they're solid in France, Belgium, Spain, Denmark, Netherlands, are getting better in America and the UK. Well, I went last year to TDU in person. I got sick over Christmas, so I couldn't make it this year, and I got to go back to Europe early. But you went, Chris, and was that with a brand, self-funded? Like, what was your motivation for going?
Good question, Patrick. So yeah, self-funded. Self-funded with the idea of, okay, this is the only World Tour race in Australia, an opportunity to go and capture content of some description. And we chatted about it before I went down there, even on the show. Like, what should I be doing down there? What ultimately is of value? I kind of said this to you a little bit, but I felt a lot like a fish out of water, or a little bit of an outsider in that whole thing. Because, for example, I got my media pass, great, whatever. What did that allow me to do? Well, it was allowing me to go to the media center, great. So I can sit down and type on my laptop. So then what's the next thing I can do? Well, I can go to the race starts and the race finishes and sort of mingle around the riders in the sort of roped off area where the gear is. And I did that. And got to sniff around the bikes, which was pretty useful. But once you'd sort of done that for a day and I'd looked at all the bikes and chatted to the odd mechanic, then the kind of ball's back in your court to move around, or if you wanted to try and do an interview, the ball is very much in your own court to do it. What I'm there to do, or what our audience want us to do, is to sit down and talk about what we've seen, and to do that, the logistics of that in a remote circumstance like that is very, very difficult. So again, Wi-Fi not great. It seems like it's still very much set up for a journalist who is writing or producing content for a set media thing, where they send that content to a central location and it goes out via whatever medium that might be. So it was a bit of a challenge. I mean, did you have a similar situation with it last time, or how did you kind of find the experience?
I just don't know what to do when I go to a race, and it's not unique to the TDU. But yeah, as you say, you get your media pass, you're like, great, I got it. But when I see the riders in the vans or wherever on the team bus before a race, maybe I'm introverted, maybe it's because I'm not like a classically trained journalist. I shouldn't bother them. I should leave them alone. They got a sports event in half an hour. I should really let them just prepare. I shouldn't harass them. And what you should do as a professional is you contact all the press officers, you tell them who you want, you tell them what days you'd want them, you organize all of that to get your sound bites. And I think and often traditional journalism is one way, and that's not how I work or you work. So when it's one way, ask question, but you just hold your recorder in front of them, and then the writer says their quote, you take that, put your headphones in, you're in the media room, download it, bang, 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 pump out your quotes. And that's not really how I work. Now Daniel Friebe, it actually also, when you're in it, you realize how hard it is and tiring it must be for like someone like Daniel Friebe to do what he does every day. Oh. To go to the Tour de France every day, he's at the it's actually almost easier in the Tour because there's the designated zone where the rider comes up, you're standing on the fence. You don't have to move. The rider gets fed to you if you've organised them. He does that 21 days in a row, stage start, stage finish with the recorder. And then so what the other option is like vlogging. And you also realize when you're in person, you're like, fuck, cycling Maven, man, it was hard what he did. Like, the stuff he used to make is actually much harder. And the fact he did it on a daily basis, it's actually a lot harder than you think in person, for it not to just be slop as well. So maybe also perfectionism is an impediment. But yeah, I really struggle with A, harassing the riders, and B, knowing really what to do. I think the easy thing, I love the tech stuff. So I think TDU, if you just go, okay, I want to churn out 20 videos of the new World Tour setups and gradually release them, I think that's a layup, because they're all in the air-conditioned room before the race.
Yeah.
Personally, that's what I want as someone that didn't go but was watching it, following from the sidelines. I can't go. I want to watch videos that take me there. So that's going to be either long form stuff, I think, like we did, just chatting about it generally, or vlog stuff or tech stuff. But again, the stuff that you do, Chris, is really only the long form, just having a chat about it. And then GCN pretty much mop up all the rest.
Yeah, well, so the actual reality of that was, so my media accreditation would not have allowed me to do the take the bike. You know, I think like Alex is going to be releasing these now over the next sort of couple of weeks, where it's him talking to a bike and here's the new bits and pieces. I wouldn't have been allowed to do that. So all I could have done is potentially filmed the stuff at the start line and kind of just ad hoc done the point camera at the bike and gone, okay, here are the wheels, here's the tire width, et cetera, which potentially might have been just as valuable. But again, you kind of, like you said, LR, it's like, it's a really weird time because, you know, well, you've been there, Jesse. Like, it's 40 minutes before a race. The mechanics are getting the bikes ready. Do they want this rando, like, filming their bikes, talking about it as they're putting air in the tires and the riders are going off for a warm-up or up to... I don't know. I'm not ballsy enough to do that, so I just creeped around in the background and sort of pretended not be there and, like, snap a little photo when I could when no one was watching.
Yeah, like the only way I've been able to do it in the past is when I just have a mate and I was like, do you want to do a quick, like Ben O'Connor before Catalunya, Seb Berwick last year at the TDU, like where I know it's no skin off their nose to do a 5-minute chat. So that's the only, but you know, you do a couple of them and you're like, well, I don't have that many mates. More than 0, but probably less than 10. So you run out of content pretty quickly. So yeah, I think it's, like, what could they do to entice you over, Chris? I guess if you had it on your media pass, like at a particular hour during the week before the race, all the new bikes, like they told the teams, if you want your bike to get covered, put it in this room, and they're going to 20 of them around in a circle, because all the media that's here are entitled to come and look at your bike, play with it, etc. I think that's a win-win for everybody. I'd feel much more comfortable doing that because you don't have to ask anybody. And then they don't have to be asked because they're like, you've got your hour slot to like look at our bike and set up. Don't ask us out of that slot.
And the other thing is to reduce the logistics of this. So if there was some sort of podcast studio, even like it didn't have to be a professional setup, but at least something that was able to be filmed and you were able to walk away and do a couple of shows while you were down there without having to just pick up, like I'm just self-funding, excess baggage. I can't do that.
Yeah, but then what if 5 people want to do a podcast? Like that's the problem. But yeah, I think it does make me realize like it's very different jobs. Sort of the new age coverage where you're separate and never have relied on access, and then like traditional journalism is actually very different, even like the nuts and bolts of getting the content. And I think once you're accustomed to one way, I think it is actually difficult to do the other. Like I just don't have it in me to go to every start and finish of a race. I just cannot physically do it.
There's this up and coming vlogger I've seen. His name's Patrick Broe. He's on the January health kick. Can we talk about that? December.
December.
Okay.
I got in before.
It's not a New Year's resolution. Can we chat about this? I think they're legitimately freaking good.
Yeah.
I've watched most of them. They're good. And there's like
It's
a hole in
unbelievable.
that just vlog content from someone that's not just a complete, no offense, like D-grade random person. There's someone that you kind of already respect then makes vlogs. I'm in. I think they're awesome. Talk us through it. What's the plan here?
Well, first I should probably go back to the story of my channel and like OG cycling YouTube, which was like, Durian Rider was like one of the OG, if not the OG cycling YouTuber, right? Vlogging. Whether you like him or not, that is a reality. He spawned a lot of YouTubers, particularly in Australia, and in the UK and America as well. And so he did that sort of content, and then a lot of people took elements of it and then probably boosted the production value significantly, like Maven, and it was, you know, a bit cleaner. And basically that was sort of what was cycling YouTube back 14, 15, 16, 17 from memory. And I basically just started doing that. Like my first video was riding up Wollonga Hill with Bora, and had the GoPro on. And I basically wanted to be a cycling vlogger,
Yep.
like Francis Cade, who probably started a little bit earlier than me. And then not that many people were interested because I wasn't that good. The TDU ended. There's no other pros in Australia to film riding up a hill behind. And I also started my job. So I just basically had this channel that kickstarted and then shelved it. Then I started doing 2019 race videos. I was just bored. They popped off. But the actual original channel had nothing to do with race analysis. And then the channel kind of got too big, and I always wanted to do vlogs, right? But then the channel got too big that the majority of the subscribers...
Nah, the YouTube algorithm would not like that.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. After a while, you can... If I did a weekly vlog on the main channel and it had like, you know, going to the Tour de France route reveal, I think that would be fun. But yeah, it kind of got to the point where I was like, the people are not subscribed to this channel for me to start doing a vlog, sort of to your point, Chris. So I didn't feel comfortable putting a slop iPhone health kick vlog on a channel with 250,000 subscribers. I just didn't feel comfortable. And I think that's actually a problem with YouTube at the moment, is that it's scary to then start experimenting again once you have a core concept that works. Because I know with a relative range of certainty, like what views I'm going to get when I do all the race videos this year. Whereas if I put that video on this channel, half the comments could be, what the fuck is this? I'm not subscribed to see you walking up a hill talking about Andrew Huberman. So that's why. But it was mainly accountability that I started, because I didn't post it anywhere. I didn't mention it anywhere. I literally was doing it. So I had accountability and a record of my health fitness journey.
So the 1,000-watt calorie deficit. Are we? Did I say 1,000-watt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
what I
roads like
the 1,000-calorie deficit. How's this playing out day to day? So are you managing to train on this? What are the moods like?
So that was just the first 4 weeks. So I was 77 kilos, and that was just the first 4 weeks. And I hadn't been doing much exercise. And you can see all on Strava, obviously, not plugging it, but like you can see. And so I was like, if I just start exercising 10 hours a week across running and cycling, even low intensity, and basically eat the same calories as I have already been doing, albeit from better, like I was tracking the macronutrient split, making sure I had enough carbohydrate and protein rather than just eating junk food. I'm not going to be that hungry, especially as if I'm careful with carbohydrates before the relevant exercise. And also when you're doing famous zone 2 training, you don't need as many carbohydrates when you're banging out VO2 intervals. So that was my theory, and it was kind of correct. I really wasn't that hungry if I was still eating like 2,000 calories a day. So I was aiming to burn 1,000 active and be in 1,000 just for 4 weeks to like kickstart it, you know, to get that visible progress on the scales in the mirror. And then obviously like I've not continued 1,000 calorie deficit a day for the next month.
Have you struggled with the habit change of actually eating healthier meals and getting rid of the junk?
No.
Pretty easy?
That's easy, yeah.
Okay. I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. Is they
I
know
just don't-
sort of what
I just
to
don't
eat.
buy it. I just went and got 10 kilos of rice from Asian supermarket, $25, and then just eat beans with it and hot sauce.
So just have it on hand. That's the trick. Is just don't have junk food and always have a healthy meal ready to eat. So you're not like, oh shit, I got to walk to the supermarket and then bang.
It's never been my problem.
No?
I've never had a problem. I never would go. I haven't bought a supermarket at a grocery store almost ever. The problem is, if someone else has bought it in the house, then
It's gone.
like I might be able to avoid it 6 times in a row. But then the 7th
Looking at
time,
ya.
you're gonna go for it. Or when we go out to, I just can eat so much. My biggest problem is like I can eat an insane amount of food for someone my height, like in one sitting. I can go to a restaurant and just eat like 3,000 calories easy. Well, not easy. Like I'm I'm stuffed after, but so that's also the problem.
So I just want to go back into your history. I'm just curious about this sort of health thing. What year did you go from sort of cyclist to fat lawyer? When did that happen?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. So I was like 59 kilos. This is also the problem with vlogging. When I started vlogging on the Lantern Rouge YouTube channel, I was like 59 kilos. I was like hollowed out cheeks. And then started work as a lawyer.
Which year was
and
that?
then 2017, February 2017.
Okay.
So I was like at my skinniest January 2017 during TDU. And then February started work as a lawyer. Stayed really active still, but I probably went up to about 65, 66, which is still like a healthy, fit person.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good
That's
weight.
totally fine.
Good crit weight.
It just kind of kept sliding, and then I was probably like 69, 70 maybe, and then COVID hit, and then
Oh, dear.
bang.
Okay.
You're in Australia, you're not allowed to go outside. I've quit my job to start a podcast in the middle of the night every day
Oh, dear.
from Balmain. I've got Darling Street takeaway all there. I'm working fucked hours. I don't have my bike. I don't want to ride my bike in Sydney either. I'm from Brisbane and Gold Coast. And we also had a lot of like family like things happening as well. And so I just went to like 82 kilos, bang, hit that COVID weight.
Okay.
And so like it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously I wasn't like happy about that. I was very self-conscious about it. But it happened to a lot of people, I think. I think that's a common story. A lot of people, like if you were an office worker, at least before you had to commute, walk around the office, and then suddenly you're just at home working all day. It takes a lot of willpower to work a desk job, and then when you clock off, be like, I'm going to run, go run 10K. I'm sure some people do it, but it makes it harder.
Is this why now then? Is that because work's steadier and you're sort of like, I got more time to train now, I can get into routine, so is it more work related that the timings?
I think my personal life has stabilized a bit. So in a pretty good place to do that from, so that, and then coming back to Australia was like the kickstart. So like change of environment, land, embrace the jet lag. So when I got off the flight, first day, woke up at 3 a.m. I got up. I just got up because on the Gold Coast.
Yeah,
Brisbane,
everyone gets up at 3 a.m. in the Gold Coast anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. And so just got up, started exercising. Because what would happen is, like last year, I had all these grand plans, and I woke up like a normal person at 8 a.m. You can't ride for 2 hours at 8 a.m. here.
Yeah.
Like, you can, but you'll get melanoma.
Yeah, it's too hot.
Or hit by you.
Or it takes like 3 months until you're ready, till you actually feel half decent because it's so hot.
So I just use that change of environment to immediately create this is how we're going to operate now. And but like the motivation for it, I think, was firstly I do want to make interesting cycling content outside of videos, highlight videos, and outside of the podcast this year. I think because I want to watch that content, so I presume other people do, and I think I have a good advantage to make that happen with where I live, with the connections I have, with I guess the time I have to, say say Sepp Kuss, like I go ride with, not Brain, but like I ride with a lot of pros in Andorra, but I can't hang on his wheel when he's doing even a tempo interval.
Yeah.
Like, not even close. And probably I can't even get there anyway, but like, I want to make more of that sort of content, which I'm already sort of kind of able to do anyway. But I tell you what, if you're a bit overweight and you go ride with Kuss, it's like, you look at the footage, you're like, Jesus. I mean, I should put it out there anyway, but you know what I mean? Like, it's,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to get that skinny, but I want to be like in a decent shape, like,
Yeah.
to put that out there, and also to be able to ride 2-3 hours with him without being completely fucked.
Yeah. I'll be like, oh, can we meet up? Oh, I'll be recovery day because I don't want to ride at 5 watts per kilo up every climb. But if you're in shape, you can do
their
that.
recovery, they still ride up climbs like 3.5 watts per kilo, man, for like an hour.
Yeah.
It's not slow. It's 2,000 meters. Like, it's not slow. You still like, you can't just do that off like, unless you're a freak talent. And so yeah, that was the motivation, and also it's also healthier. Like, if you look at, I did a DEXA scan. It's like, clearly need to lose weight. So like, looking at the data, it's like, well, this is just the reality. You have to lose some weight. So I don't know. I think like a lot of people probably feel that way, but you just need. I'm fortunate that I have the time to do it, to make that snap change in the off season.
So you're going to keep making the vlogs?
So I'm going to do a weekly. Daily is too much, so I think a weekly is a good set amount to keep it going.
Nice. Very glad.
What do you think, Chris? You think there's a place for them?
I'm always jealous of anyone in a vlog environment, if that's a thing, that is has big relevant climbs, people around it. That was always the challenge here, is to just try and make anything relevant to a global audience. And yeah, so immediately I'm jealous of not only the locations that you'd be able to do that, but the people that you would be able to do it. Because like you said, it's, you know, trying to make people interested and in your own cycling journey. Yeah, okay. I mean, Jesse might watch it for a couple of weeks, but is he going to be that invested in Patrick's DEXA scan in 12 months' time? Probably not. But is he going to be invested in Sepp Kuss's last couple of training rides before he goes to defend the Vuelta? Hell yeah. I mean, that's a different ball game. So yeah, I mean, that to me is the super interesting part. And like, I was on a ride actually down in Adelaide, and that Poggy video that, and I know it's not a vlog, I get that Matt Stevens one, that has just gone absolutely mental. And this came up in conversation. It was actually this is what I do. I eavesdrop when I'm on group rides. I'm listening to like everyone's conversation at the same time. And these people were talking about it just behind me. And I was totally eavesdropping on the conversation. And they were just saying like they couldn't believe how like open and funny and interesting the whole video was, because basically it was just this guy at home taking the piss out of where he kept his Tour de France winners trophy and things like this. So I don't know. I even think something like that, again, is another route you could take it. Like, and even
I really struggle with that. Again, it's what we said about at the team buses. Like, at the end of the day, Andorra is like where the riders live with their family, and so the last thing I wanted to do was like be this YouTuber that turns up and is like filming them when like, because it's like no one knows. Like, they basically get to operate there in complete like being left alone. At the races, they're harassed mercilessly. In Andorra, they're left alone for the most part. So that's also like, I didn't want to be that guy either who sort of invades their safe space. But no, but that's different obviously, because Pogacar's invited him to film in his home. And you're right, that video, I was like, if there's ever a proof of concept that this has interest to people, of course it's Pogacar, Tour de France winner, but 50K is a lot of views, 70K is a lot of views, which is 10% of that video.
Yep.
You're going up to, so it's 5.5 watts per kilo for your own training. That's the goal.
Give me your confidence into, here we go, Jesse. Yeah, what is it happening? 5.5.
No, not unless you. That's why I asked, is it something to do with work? Because I thought, if you're going to cut your workload in half and have
No, my workload keeps
4
going up.
hours available ride time plus like an hour in the afternoon of kind of siesta time, maybe squeezing in 2 to 3 hours amongst work and all that. Especially once the Duro hits and that's going to be a whole different ballgame for you when the Grand Tours start. Like,
hang on, just quickly. So at 5.5, so what's the weight target? LR?
60.
Jesus. Okay, right.
Well, I won't be able to do the watts.
Okay.
If I'm 65, I'm not I can't do the watts at 65. Okay. You need like talent.
Yeah.
So what's the so you're going to be doing, is it like based on a 20-minute? What's your benchmark?
No, hour.
Yeah,
You gotta do that.
is
You
what
gotta
he
do
said
the
in
hour.
the video.
I know,
Okay.
no algorithms, no AI, EFTP. We're doing a fucking 1 hour. That's your FTP.
That's it.
No, so the new thing is not. So you've got your FTP. Then the new thing is
Oh, critical power.
your
Is
time
that
till
different?
exhaustion. How long can you hold it? So now there's people like, well, my FTP is 300, but my time to exhaustion is only 30 minutes. So like, well,
Yeah.
the definition of FTP is what can you do for an hour?
Yeah.
So
Sorry, I'm
But
confused.
we're
What
at a weird-
lactate zone are we in at the moment?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've just, I've moved on.
But so like where I'm starting from is I basically untrained at 72 kilos, FTP of like 255, 260.
so what was your peak when you were back from 2017 when you were training?
About 290 at 58 kilos. And I was doing slop training.
Okay.
290 for an hour.
30 minutes TTE.
Jeez.
Shimano power meter.
Mm.
Nah, probably 290. Nah, 290 is probably.
That's
probably
good.
Mm.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you're 58 kilos, Chris. Like,
Yeah.
like someone that's 75 kilos doing that same watts per kilo on the flat will completely destroy you. Like, you still got to a crit at that weight, and you're not killing it in A
No.
grade. You're not killing it in B grade, probably.
Yeah.
Um,
No, what's win everywhere here.
Pretty much.
What yeah, I know you were training slot, but what sort of volume were you doing roughly? You remember?
I'd have to look. 2016, when I finished uni, had 6 months. Well, like 10, 12 hours a week. Maybe 13,
okay.
14.
So you weren't crunching the case.
Yeah. No, I did 300 for 20 minutes. 300 for 20 minutes. So I don't know what that means.
Okay. Yep.
That means 280, right? At 95%? It won't happen. But I wanted to have like a stretch goal. What do you call a stretch goal, Jesse?
You would need a training camp. That's probably your problem. Is
I needed to be like,
you would
Yumbo,
yeah.
can I come and also be coached by the
Yeah.
staff while I'm there?
I reckon you would just start to plateau if it was just sub 15-hour weeks back to back to back. You would need to fit a camp in once you're fit, which you might struggle to do with work. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, we'll see.
You know what I think is going to be the new FTP? What's your compound score in 2
Ooh.
years? I think that's what people are going to say. What's your compound score?
What
gonna
is
be
a
the
compound score?
Compound
Explain.
is your 5-minute absolute power multiplied by your 5-minute watts per kilo. And so it's a better representation of how fast you actually go over 5 minutes, because a 80 kilo rider with the same 5-minute watts per kilo as a 60 kilo rider is actually much more valuable and goes much faster on actually all terrain, including like 10%, if they have the same watts per kilo. So, like UAE and all the teams, they look at compound score for evaluating riders, because someone like Kenny Elissonde, he just can't have that high a compound score. But you might have a 75 kilo rider with a pretty, like your watts per kilo is like, it's okay, but then he's still doing 530 watts though for 5 minutes. And so when you think about how fast he actually goes on even a 3, 4, 5% climb, it's quick. So compound score, I think, will be the new what's your FTP.
Is there I've never heard of that term before. Obviously the principle's familiar, but not, not as a calculation. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't heard Duran Rider mention it, so it's not relevant to me. Is that in the saddle, out of the saddle, with your shirt on, with your shirt off? I need to. That's where I'm at the moment.
Do you not think it is slightly hilarious how, like, this isn't on our run sheet, but like that he was preaching like for 5 years all the high carb stuff, and then like you got nutritional coaches of world tour teams who like admit they were like keto bros during that whole time. And like guys are creeping and bonking, and they're like, "No, do 5 hours fasted." And now these same coaches at world tour teams are like, "Yeah, 120 grams per hour, obviously, carbohydrate."
So Jesse and I had this chat this morning, right? Duran Rider versus Huberman. Who's more in the ballpark? And
Of what?
I gotta say it. I'm leaning towards shirts off up Norton Summit, because at least it's simplified. Like, at least the direction to go is pretty clear. Drink water, eat sugar, sleep, ride your bike. It's in the right direction. All this other faff about plunging and facing the sun and backflips, whatever it might be, it's just so, you've got to put so many ducks in a line to actually get out the door and be a fit human. I'm sorry.
Human's not a fit human. What's his 5K?
Well, that's the other thing.
What do you reckon his 5K is? And he doesn't even squat.
No.
Doesn't even squat. Like, these gurus, they will go so far out of their fucking way not to do a 5K and not to do an Olympic lift. Like, because they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do it clean. They don't know how to squat properly. And
I reckon Atea was pushing about 130 watts in his Zone 2 Instagram story video.
No, he's not that bad.
Slapping about the place.
I think it's purposely, because if you have to churn out 2 pieces of content a week about health and fitness, like, you got to talk about something. And that's why Trainer Road, like their podcast, unless there's like new scientific discoveries happening all the time, it's once you've kind of said what there is to say, it must be difficult to think like, what are we going to talk about this week? That's why I specifically focused on pro cycling, because there's a race every week with a new storyline. I don't have to think up any content.
Do you? No, I guess people do take a try. At least with Duran Rider, you're kind of, at least you're going to be pointed in the right direction. You're missing all the detail, but you're probably like a quarter of the way and in the right direction. Whereas if you're kind of piecing together bits from Huberman or whatever other kind of sources you're pulling in, some like deep dived Trainer Road thing, you might have 5% of the detail, but you're heading in the wrong direction. And I think I don't, unfortunately or possibly fortunately, I don't think Harley's getting the views where he's really moving the needle in a.
Lay off the stims, mate. Lay off the stims.
That's the thing. Like, I said about Huberman is that, or all the discussions about Zone 2, etc. It's like, people just need to exercise a bit more, and the reality is they were probably like me or are like me, and they were too sedentary and eating too much food, and that's the problem. That's 95%, right? And then your red light therapy, your acupuncture, or your other stuff, your whatever, ayahuasca, that can be your 5%. But really, like, the fundamental things are, as you said, sleep, movement, the right food.
But I get my back up against the wall on not just the cold plunging stuff, but even the polarized training thing. The amount of like people I would speak to, and they're like, "Oh, what's your training philosophy? Do you recommend polarized?" It's the first question. Do you do? I'm like, there's like 100 other training principles which you would need to tick off and make sure you're getting right, so that you're responding well to training's high quality, before you're then going into what I would say is relatively specific niche area of what's your exact training intensity distribution. Like you're quite far down the line, but it's because I guess it's an interesting conversation. No, that topic has just been moved so far up that it's almost a meme at this stage. And I feel actually the same way about the whole lactate discussion. And it's something which is, in my opinion, far down the line is like, do you do polarized training and do you measure your lactate? It's like the two biggest things. And I'm just, maybe I've just haven't been following along. I'm like, like, I don't even know how to answer that. Like, what's the question here? It's just weird how these things just...
Yeah, like lactate measurements are like important for pros, obviously, but the setting zones, I guess. But I think in running, they're really important and easier to do because basically they're running laps around the track and they get lactate pricks like every lap or every time they finish an interval. So I think it's more difficult to do in cycling. I don't think any rider that has great power numbers but their lactate levels are not great at those power numbers is not getting signed. I think you still sign the rider.
Well, even from like a training prescription point of view,
yeah,
there's a lot of other things that I'd be looking at before I'm then going, oh, I really need to see your lactate profile. I really need you measuring lactate within your training because I'm out of ways to improve the training process for a rider.
Yeah.
And that's what I always come back to. I'm like, well, yeah, will it be useful when we have continuous lactate monitors through an Apple Watch? Would I be looking at that data? Yeah, for sure. But
like, what would you change that you wouldn't already? Like, I can tell you an example today. I did 4 threshold intervals, and then it was like 40 degrees perceived temperature, and then I was supposed to ride home and do zone 2 for 30 minutes home, and my heart rate was supposed to be X. And I knew if I ride this power, my lactate level is going to be so far above 2 millimole, it will going to be funny. I know. And I was looking at my heart rate, I was fucked. And it was so hot. So, like, I already know that. So I just went a bit slower. Or you can just match the power because you want to do the power. It doesn't matter. But, like, what would the lactate change in that situation? I guess knowing for sure I'm over 2 millimole.
Well, I think your heart rate and your effort level in that part of the session was obviously high because of the heat. I don't necessarily if your lactate would have even reflected that, what you were feeling.
Oh, I'm unfit, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
How far into the ride did you say you were? Oh, you'd done your efforts.
I was riding home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, potentially. Yeah, but even other things like if you're making sure your nutrition's right, if you're going out for a VO2 max day and you're measuring your lactate, would that be able to help you make sure that you're if the session, I use it so similar to heart rate, like if something's gone wrong in a session and you're kind of going, well, what's happened here? Lactate would really help with that because lactate is linked closely to nutrition. So you'd be able to, it would be an investigative point of what was your heart rate? And then, well, right now you've kind of got effort level, heart rate. Then you can kind of get oxygen saturation in the blood if you have one of those sensors. And then lactate. Well, lactate would be useful as a way
glucose.
of helping figure out what's going on there. So I think you use it in that sort of way.
Did the continuous glucose monitors, can they stop you bonking?
Stop you bonking?
Are they useful enough that you can use that information in the ride to stop yourself bonking?
Potentially, because if you had a metabolic test in the lab and you had your lactate levels tracked with your substrate usage, potentially you could use that as a way to calculate. It's so far down the line though. You could use that to calculate how much carbohydrate you've burnt, and then and then estimate what your storage would have been during. But it never really works because by the time you get so far down the line, I don't think you'd have any data that's useful. Similar with glucose monitors. That's a similar thing. There's so many variables. By the time you're actually trying to pull an insight from it, you're going, oh, it ends up being a lot of guesswork anyway. But I still think it would be, if I had riders that could continuously monitor it, I'm 100% convinced it would add value.
From an accuracy standpoint, is that really what you're able to glean from
Well,
it?
It's not even possible.
I don't know. A lot of them are not that accurate. The lactate monitors I've seen, like they're like, oh, it's coming to market. It's like 10% off.
Mm.
And like you look at, if you're trying to train at Inigo San Milan's fat max, that's at like 0.2 millimole below your tipping point, end of zone two, his zone 2. So like that 10% is right there. So maybe some of them more accurate. I think some are supposed to be released this year. There's one from the company that supplies the hardware to Super Sapiens, because Super Sapiens don't make those CGM devices. They have a software company, as I understand it. Abbott, big company, is doing CLMs as well.
But I mean, is it potentially a really useful tool post training, or even from an intensity point of view to guide a little
sure.
bit? Yeah, definitely. Is measuring lactate a method of training? No. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's kind of put out as in like
it's not a method. It's not a method.
It's the Norwegian methods measuring lactate. I'm like, well, that's not how they're scheduling their training. Like, what do you like? They're still going and doing weeks of training.
As a non-coach cycling YouTube watcher, that's what I thought it was. Like, legitimately, I thought, oh my God, this is a different. I'm going to be cycling backwards or something. Like that was how dramatic the shift to my riding was going to be when I started the Norwegian protocols. But yeah, ultimately, and talking to Dan about it a bit as well, it's just like, oh, it's just a different way to measure. Okay. I'm still going to do threshold sessions. Yeah. I'm still going to do zone 2 sessions. Yeah. Like,
I'm still going to make sure I'm not overtraining. I'm still going to monitor my nutrition. I'm still going to get blood tests and measure to my blood values. I'm still likely going to follow a TSS model to some degree of my weeks and my months. So you're doing all that even before you're then measuring lactate. It's a part of that, but it's not. It's still based on.
Like, there's a blue paper or white paper on the Norwegian method from Marius Bakken, who worked. Well, he had beef with Ingebrigtsen's father because Ingebrigtsen's father was like, "Nah, I did it all myself, and this guy's got receipts." It's quite interesting that he's got receipts telling Ingebrigtsen's father about that. And it's they use lactate measurements to stay below 4 millimole, and he tries to stay between 2.3 and 3 millimole when he's doing his threshold sessions, and he realized he could do a lot more of them at that sub-threshold sort of zone. Maybe it'd be sweet spot. I'd hazard a guess in cycling is what we would call that, which is not a new concept, sweet spot training. And also his point over 5,000 tests was his lactate varied a lot throughout the year, throughout the season. It just made him understand his body a lot more. And also some Kenyans, they enter anaerobic threshold 2 millimole. So it varies a lot between individuals. So even 2 millimole is not a golden standard for, tipping over Fab Max or whatever for people, trained people. It could be different. But yeah, I'd encourage people, if they're interested, to read about the Norwegian model of lactate testing during training.
And if you're actually interested in what they do, listen, Rich Roll did good podcasts with the coach and with Gustav and Christian. So if you're interested in taking lactate out of it, how do they actually train and recover, and what are they actually doing?
Yeah.
Their podcasts are really good because they just explain it. And it's basic. I mean, obviously they're using the tech to have some insight, but the majority of what they're doing is foundational endurance training and not making all the mistakes that that are possible to make.
Do you think double threshold days could work in cycling or would ever become popular? Have you already discussed this?
Maybe I did a video.
Morning 2 hours threshold efforts, afternoon threshold efforts.
You would, I was going to say, you'd have to, the level that you'd need to be at where even a one threshold session a day is not going to give you enough stimulus to be pretty far down the line. But it depends what you're training for as well. I mean, if you're training for a road event, the whole point of doing it, especially as you get in season, doing it already fatigued, you're doing that on purpose. That wouldn't be something you'd be actively trying to avoid splitting your threshold work because you're trying to do it all in one session.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, potentially if you're training for a time trial and you're at a fitness level where the threshold sessions is so fatiguing and your energy turnover is so high that you accumulate, let's say 90 minutes of zone 4 in a single session, and that's still not stimulating enough to get the aerobic progression you want, yeah, potentially you would split that up over morning and afternoon.
Yeah.
But you'd have to be a pretty big engine to be getting to that level, especially because it's cycling. We don't have the injury risk. So
Exactly, yeah.
there'd be guys there. I mean, Filippo Ganna, a guy like that training for the hour record. Is he able to get all the work he needs done each week, doing
Maybe
one
they
ride a
did do
week?
double days, yeah.
I could start to see, I could see a reason why it would work or would be needed there. But
Like someone like, why would I do that? Why would I do that now? Like, I just need to ride my bike a little bit more, and that probably goes for a lot.
or if your recovery was so bad that you were accumulating, let's say 30 minutes in zone 4, and you were kind of getting really fatigued. Either you're just inexperienced enough where that's going to be enough training stimulus anyway, or you'd need to look at your fueling and your recovery. Like that would be indicating an issue if that was the case anyway.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a bit of brand chat? Bit of cycling equipment brand chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Is Patrick, you don't come off as like a brand guy, although you have an RM
Nah,
shirt.
see, that's I'm a secret. What do you mean by brand guy? You mean like, am I obsessed with bike tech and stuff
Yeah,
like
what's the
that?
froth? What are you on the froth scale?
Yeah.
No, I'm a bit like you. I'm like a pathetic rim brake, which is ridiculous. Like, they don't work as well. Like, that bike I have out there, I can't stop in the wet. I straight up can't stop. I'm riding carbon clinchers, which I was like, how the fuck were these allowed to be sold?
Yeah.
Literally in the wet, I cannot stop.
Yeah.
But I'm like, nah, rim brakes are the best. And then obviously but I'm kind of like, I've built my own bikes from scratch, like getting every single constituent part secondhand from Marketplace, and I constructed a bottom bracket bearing press from Bunnings for $1 instead of buying the tool for the press fit bottom bracket. So yeah, like I follow it, but I would never spend an extra $7,000 aftermarket to get like tune hubs and extra light.
Okay, but what about when you start getting sort of around the 5 watts per kilo, and like the Patrick Broe vlogs are taking off, right? You're full on bike influencer. The brands are reaching out. They're like, all right, the Specialized, Trek, Giant, they're all hitting you up. Okay, what's the one email from what bike are you seeing at the moment that you would go, you know what? Yeah, send me one of those. Is there
TCR.
anything? Okay.
TCR.
It's my old faithful. Like, I know the Tarmac's better, right? Like, as an all-round bike, like in the data. I'm used to a TCR. The only thing is the integrated seat post is a pain to travel with.
See what I mean, Jesse? The TCR,
Yeah.
man, like it's a real thing. It's like a Ford or a Holden driver or something. They just don't take the TCR off me. Like, we were having this chat about why a Giant even bothering releasing a TCR now, because
What do you mean?
yeah, well, you've got to Defy and you've got to Propel. It's like, why bother with this?
And they're all
model
within like
now that
300
sits
grams of
in
each other.
between. But it's because the what does TCR stand for? The Cycling
Total
Revolution
compact
or
road,
something?
isn't it, or something like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what, like,
I've
they
got it
wrote in
tattooed
the
on the
90s,
back of
right?
my
It's
neck.
like one of the original ones.
Yeah. Wide tires. Are you on board with wide tires? Then we get a nice little fat set of. I don't know if Cadex run wide tires, but I reckon that's the biggest difference you would see if you went to the dark side. Would be the nice 28s at 55 psi.
I mean, no, I was on that a long time ago. I was riding clinches 45 psi. 50
But that's
psi.
just stupid.
Like 6 years ago. Well, in your light,
Oh, because
Okay.
smaller
no
ride.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably was a bit low, but I tested, I pushed, see how low can I go? How low can I go with the things? Because, like, yeah, now the teams are all running like 4.2 bar. I don't know what that is in psi. To be honest, I wouldn't really care. I actually don't think there's much difference between any of the bikes. A lot of the bikes, like between like the best ones, like the Scott, the foil's obviously good, Tarmac's good, Propel's good. Like that, your Specialissima, Chris, don't know about that one. But definitely like the big difference I think is in the tires and wheels around the teams. Like you mentioned on the last pod, Cofidis, right? With Corima didn't make they don't make tubeless compatible wheel set. At least
That's
they didn't last
cooked.
year.
How could you not use tube?
Yeah, so your riders are like giving up, I don't know how many watts at the start line. Your riders are like giving up, 10, 15 watts? I don't know how many it is.
It's
Every
just
rider.
madness.
And that's why Astana started using head wheels mid-season because they also had Corima.
I couldn't believe what I was, because again, like maybe it was just that they were sitting right next to the Envy wheels on the UAE bikes, but it looked stupid. And I legitimately felt sorry for the riders because it is you are like the role. Anyway, we've gone over this.
Sudala's still using tubes in their specialized setup. They still haven't gone tubeless.
They haven't gone tubeless, but they're still running the wider Roval wheels. Yeah, as opposed to.
I still find that weird. Why wouldn't you just run them tubeless? You get less flats. It seems like a no-brainer.
All right, boys. Now, while I've got you thinking a little bit of equipment, I want to do a little test for you. All right. So what I've done is I've gone and grabbed the marketing phrase for a number of cycling brands and products. I should say that this is a mix of brands and a specific product of a brand. I'll let you know when we do those. All right.
But not services like Training Peaks? It's like a physical product.
Correct. Okay. All right. So I want to start you off with this one. Now, you can buzz in or you can just go for it.
Oh, wait. Are we guessing what they are or are we going like
No, you're
scale?
guessing the company. I want you to guess it.
Yeah.
All right? Beat Yesterday.
Oh.
Because that one I thought it was going to be like Trainer Road or something.
That's not you're on the right route. So it's a training on bike solution.
Is it Wahoo?
Very, very close.
Garmin.
Correct.
Oh.
Well done. I'm actually very impressed with that. All right, second one I think's easy, but I needed to give you one to go for. The world's finest cycling clothing.
Assos.
Incorrect.
Who would
He
say
was
that?
close.
Oh, I actually don't know. Like Giordana or something?
Rafa.
Really?
Mm.
Oh, that doesn't
Mm.
fit there.
No,
That must be a legacy one from a couple.
That's their main head of. So that's not like going into, because each product almost has its own tagline, but that's their like Rafa, the world's finest cycling clothing.
Because
All right,
it can't be like
second one.
Castelli, because Castelli's like quality, affordable quality, not the best. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to give you a clue for this one. This is a apparel brand. Be your alter ego.
No, this one. I'll sit this one out.
Panama Studios.
Close. Attacker.
Ah.
I kind of like they've played the alt card. Yeah, I thought that was good branding, that one. All right. Now, this one obviously is a pretty generic phrase, but it's a specific bike model. Ultimate Speed.
Oh, Canyon Aeroed?
Incorrect.
Oh, so I was going to guess Canyon as well. But they wouldn't put Ultimate in that.
I will
Ultimate.
say that bike model registers in this. So that will be somewhere on this list. So Ultimate Speed.
Scottfoil.
The Giant Propel.
Ah.
Okay.
I can see it's very giant, isn't it? Just very fast.
Yeah.
Very fast bike.
Very fast. We're fast bike. Now, I thought this one was interesting. Refuse to compromise. This is a bike brand. I'm not talking about a specific model, just a bike brand. Refuse to compromise.
It's a bit insecure.
Yeah, I know. It's
Oh,
like,
that's
it
a
makes
good
me
read.
think that you're saying
That's a
they're
great
handcrafted
read.
in a country and they're actually Taiwan molds.
That's a great read. Fuck.
Pinarello.
Incorrect. Jesse? Come on, you got this.
Oh, it's
You've seen this on a Facebook ad, I swear.
Is it Factor?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh,
The Facebook ad got me. They've got a good ads campaign
They're
running.
Very good, yeah. All right, now this is a bike model. I reckon you'll get this. This is a bike model. Trek Madone. Oh, fuck. Sorry. Shit.
Dragmadone.
Oh, don't get me to do Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
No, we got to guess the
that was-
slogan. It's like Jeopardy.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
that was fast forward, no?
That was fast forward, correct. Yeah. Damn. Oh, that would have been a good one. All right, don't stuff this one up, Chris. All right, this is a brand, cycling brand. The Ride Ahead. It's not a frame manufacturer.
A physical cycling product.
It is a physical cycling product.
Hammerhead.
But we have...
My guess was Hammerhead. It's not that.
No.
Is it like what's that really luxe brand of lights that they clip on? Exposure lights.
No.
You were thinking
No.
way too literally about it.
Yeah, I think I'll give you both. I'm going to give you both another guess. We've talked heavily about this particular accessory on the bike and how important it is.
Pirelli.
Oh, close.
Vittoria.
Yes.
Oh,
Well done.
Ah,
good.
that's
well
Good
done.
guess.
All right, two more. Two more. Faster Everywhere. It's a bike model.
Faster everywhere.
Oh, oh.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
Oh, ugh. Faster everywhere. Is it the SLA?
No, I actually was going to put that in, but it's still the one bike to rule them all. I think is actually their tagline for that.
I think that's a good one, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that's really the BMC or like the BMC one. Or no, do BMC
No.
market a climbing and an aero?
I've heard this
No.
one before. I've heard it.
You
I
have.
would have read
and
it.
We talk about this bike a lot, Jesse.
Oh, it's S5.
No, it's the Cannondale Super 6.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to do two more. Okay. Developed for World Tour wins.
Ooh. Very German.
Bike model.
Bike model.
Bike model. Bike model. Dash. Developed for World Tour wins. They are going hard on World Tour wins.
It's not Cervelo, so I mean, is it Colnago then? But that doesn't seem like very Italian heritage branding.
No.
Who wins World Tour races?
Have the biggest name cyclist.
Is that one the Canyon Air Road?
Correct. Canyon Aeroad CFR. All right, the last one. The Quiver Killer.
Oh, I've heard this one too. The Quiver Killer.
Yeah, it's a bike
Yeah, what?
model. It's a bike model.
Is that like? Does that mean like one bike to rule them all? Sort of. Like
It's
you only
correct.
use this one?
Yeah, the Quiver Killer.
Is this a pop? Is this like a not super well known brand?
No, it's a very well-known brand. And I didn't have this down. I just know this because I just saw this pop up. I think they almost got out in front of everyone else with this. This is a few years old.
I don't even know what bikes people ride, honestly.
It may have just won a recent World Tour race.
Oh, Factor.
Factor Ostrovam, the Quiver Killer.
Oh, so I was going
There you go.
I was going all road or endurance. Okay, no, way off.
Yeah, isn't
Ah.
Ostrovam a climbing bike? Or is it supposed to be aero?
I was watching the GCN to Pro to a tech thing, and they reckon that new Factor's 10 watts faster. I've done well to
Based
save
on
10 watts there. Jesus.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, if these bikes are all getting so much faster, like 10 watts adding up over the season, then riders who are on them should be winning easily. Because they're all riding at like 40 kph plus all the time. Well, I mean, it actually does make a big difference in the TT bikes, like the haves and have-nots. But as I said before, I really think I think the foil must be pretty good. But then so is like 6 others.
But that's 10 watts over the previous generation of the Ostrovam.
okay. Which was
So
pretty. That was pretty. Everyone rates it. Everyone rides it.
Tell you what, my bike from uni that I got here that I beat up and the handlebars, it really holds its speed well. Just the old zip hubs. They really once you ring them and they're ringing, they're
once
moving.
you've got them back to the shop for the recall replacement, they're all good. They're brilliant.
It is unbelievable. This bike sits next to the ocean with a door open on it for the last 2 years, and I haven't changed the cables. I haven't done any service on it. I literally come back after a year, put chain lube on. I don't even clean it, and it shifts perfectly. I had no issues. Literally, like under pressure, go big, small ring. I'm like, how could I justify paying $3,000 for Duro's Di2?
I could justify it, but that's pretty freaking impressive.
Yeah,
for those that have lived at the beach, and maybe those aren't in Australia, that salt water breeze off the sea is brutal. It just rips through stuff. That's crazy, actually.
That's why, I think the Shimano 105 11 speed is one of the greatest group sets ever created. Like, its price when it was originally released is unbelievable. Maybe not now, but when it was originally released, the price was unbelievable. And how good it was for that price.
But that's why you can't. The brands are stuffed because until they develop their own group sets, they're never going to be able to price a bike that potentially me or you thinks a decent price because the group sets, even OEM, are so expensive. I mean, the best one right now is SRAM Rival, but you're still not getting a build for struggling to get under 5K Aussie for a build.
Isn't that the whole pushback from the bike industry is that, it's all good and well to whinge about the bike prices and compare us to the motor industry, the automotive industry, but the bike industry doesn't own the production process from start to end. It's this higgledy-piggledy bits of pieces coming in from all different stakeholders to eventually get to the customer. So like you said, it's not until that production process is streamlined all the way through that we're ever going to see something that's relatively affordable. But I don't know, maybe that's just a cop-out answer, but that's kind of what I continue to get told.
SRAM have gained market share, right?
They must have. I haven't seen a stat on it, but
since I started riding, SRAM in Australia and in the World Tour has gained. I mean, they just won all 3 Grand Tours. They're just they must be gaining significant market share. You would think that competition between them and Shimano would decrease prices.
You'd think.
You got any questions for us, or are we?
Yeah, I do have one question. What are your guys' plans this year? What's the plan? You're gonna with the show, just keeping on. That's also what I'm kind of doing mostly. If something's working, don't change. But yeah, what's the plans with the show this year?
Keeping on is certainly the most paramount thing, and as you know, that's kind of a challenge week in, week out. Definitely, I mentioned this towards the back end of last year, and I do stand by this, even though Adelaide was valuable and kind of challenging and probably ultimately a bit of a waste of time. I still want to do the bike expo industry stuff, because even if maybe the content isn't that valuable from it purely on the channel, I still think something we don't do, something we're still short on is having some physical connections with people who are in the industry to be able to back and forth from with some of the topics that we talk about and things like that. And as you know, LR, the bike industry is still a who you know industry. Oh, he's mates with him. He's mates with him. We're still so on the outside of that I think to kind of take just the pure content to the next level, I think we probably need to start getting into that a bit more. And so I don't know, putting aside all, and I've whinged about this in the past. I don't really want to go into it again about the brand stuff with being involved with the show. I just still think we can make better content, and to make better content, I probably have to be a little bit more extroverted and get out and have those conversations maybe.
And it's got to be in person too. I've since realized, like, you really, I mean, this is like not a business consulting course, but yeah, like going to Sea Otter, showing your face, maybe making some interesting content in person. And the problem is, like, we're all Australian. It's so fucking far and expensive to go. I wanted to go to Eurobike. They put it on during the Tour de France every year. And then they email me, so, it's the first week of the tour. Eurobike, I think GP Lama, Shane, like, here's some of his biggest piece of content, I think, is filmed at Eurobike. You know the huge cassette video, the crazy chain that has like millions of views? I think that was at Eurobike because they bring out wacky stuff there. So, but it's expensive, and you got to get the spreadsheet out, and you're thinking, how am I going to make this work? Especially when, and sorry for bad news, Chris, but not a single bike brand has ever contacted me to sponsor LRCP. It's like, but I think that's the thing. Like, you gotta be putting yourself out there. But it's difficult from Australia.
What we do is a show every week that people find really entertaining and somewhat interesting, somewhat informative. And so one of the things is also figuring out, well, yeah, we could go to Shanghai Bike Show and film videos there. But there's so many other options, or maybe we should go to more racing, or you kind of then just, there's so many different avenues you can go down. But at the end of the day, what is the Nero Show? What's a show every week that people watch and they want it? So I'm more interested this year of just doubling down on making the show funnier, just more, just better in every way. And like, to be honest, if I don't go to anything this year and all we do is have 52 really good Nero shows that I enjoy re-listening to, I'd be happy.
I've realized, like, I need to do just a few things throughout the year just to break it up a little bit, just to keep pushing, doing something different, challenging myself and Benji and Co a little bit to just, otherwise it's not going to become core content, but otherwise I'll go crazy, but you guys, 52 is a good amount. Like, we're doing like 180 pods a year. I'm making over 100 videos a year. It's good to do something a little bit different. But yeah, I don't know, I'm trying to think what would be, like, would people watch a bob and head TT video between you two?
People would. We've done some of those videos. The problem is, Patrick, the problem is, we don't have time. Like, especially now, like, I've got a son now who I want to be a good parent to and not be off making videos every week. And I've got a full-time job, and the show isn't really a business. It's not a job. So, we could spend heaps of time if some brand pumped cash into it and make it amazing and do all types of things. But for now, that's just none of that is realistic, because it's not a bit profitable. It's not, I mean, it's profitable, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not an income source where we're going, let's do this and let's try that. It's like, it's not reality.
Well, yeah, like, let's book an Airbnb in Bright and spend 3 days there and spend maybe $1,000, between the two of us. And then once you're talking about getting videographers involved, like, that's what I'm trying to do, Flanders and Roubaix Recon, to release those videos before those races this year. And, like, because it's going to go on the Lantern Rouge YouTube channel, I know, like, there's going to be like a baseline level of ad revenue at least on it. So I'll shoot to break even, which is like, long term, no one works to break even. That doesn't make sense. But I can initially shoot to break even because it's something different. But yeah, like, videographers are not cheap, especially if they have to bring like 2 people. You got to hire a car. I got to fly me and got to fly Benji and got to fly Luke in or train them in. Like, it's quickly adds up to do and it'll be a great video, and I can't wait to do it. I'm really excited about it. That's why I want to do it. But and the time investment's huge, like planning, and it's a week out before San Remo.
Mate, we can't get, I don't want to go too much into it, but like, we can't get a brand.
You guys are not that edgy,
like,
no offense. Like,
sorry?
It's not that, the content's not that edgy.
No, and it's
like,
so
I consider
funny.
you guys are pretty brand safe.
it's like, and you have this conversation, and it's like, oh, we're just not sure. We're just not sure because you guys, we haven't seen you do any sponsorship and promotion on the yet. So we're just a bit tentative. So how about like $200 a month, and you can maybe just like mention our product every now and again. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like,
I think unfortunately, like that's kind of what I did with Lacole. Is like when we were getting it off the ground, they showed a lot of faith in the podcast. Actually, without their support, probably wouldn't have been what it is today. But yeah, like there wasn't people knocking my door down to sponsor the first season or second season of it. And so they got a great deal. We were very happy. Well, like it was fine. It like allowed us to do it. But yeah, like $200 a month ain't like, come on, that's better. That's not
Australian.
that's barely the hosting costs of the like. The
but it's not
server
complaining.
stuff.
Like it's fine. It doesn't. Okay, we'll keep doing the show. But it's like, yeah, we're not going off and doing like. If a brand was
you can't then be like, let's spend $1,000.
If a brand was like,
this.
here's 10 grand, can you go and make a video? And yeah, we'd go down to Jindabyne and we could film something, and that'd be happy to do that. But like, that's not happening. So like, I'm not really putting much of my time into even planning stuff like that because it's just a waste of time. It's literally a waste of time. And maybe it'd be nice, but
and yet that same brand will spend $10,000-$15,000 on a page advert somewhere and have no engagement with that content at all.
Or sponsor a world tour team.
Yeah.
What a waste of money.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
You know what you got to do is create your own product is the reality. Like, or merchandise. You got the kits, but there's also, I'm thinking, I'm trying to create a product this year. I'm in my entrepreneur mode. So I was thinking, because I got really bored in the off season. I know this is going to go for a long time. So what I did was I downloaded an AI neural network software that they developed to analyze mice in laboratories by like tracking their biometric movements. And then I was like, surely if you train this on a rider in a TT position in the wind tunnel or on the track, and then it spits out graphs and like the relative relationship between the various points of his head crown and his wrist, if you then put that over his race TT footage, you could figure out whether a rider's actually doing their wind tunnel position in the race. Because I don't think you can figure that out right now. So it's completely...
All right, okay, yeah.
Because how do you know if a rider even was aero in the race? You look at them, you're like, he looks good.
He looks good.
Oh, you're too upright. Like, I mean, maybe Bigham's got some software in-house in INEOS. I'm not sure they're running the little machine you can have on the front of the bike, but you could have AI software in theory that could tell you that actually the relationship between the ratio between your wrists and head crown was way different to what we had you in the...
Actually, can I ask you about that?
Track.
So what makes that AI versus just a video tracking sports software that already exists? Like, what is it that's intelligent?
It's like training the network to actually... I don't even know myself, to be honest. It's training and learning itself from the footage.
So based on what you're feeding into it.
It gets smarter each like iteration you do, each additional piece of footage you feed into it with tags.
Right.
It will get smarter.
Okay.
And more accurate, like the loss will decrease. That's, as I understand it. Again, I'm not a computer scientist, but just get bored. But yeah, I'd love to see, there's loads of different technology stuff. And anyway, that was a complete tangent. I just had to get that off my chest because maybe there's a computer scientist that listens to this and I blew up my computer doing it.
Well, I find it interesting too because I've seen like some training software as well do it where they say it's AI and I'm kind of like, this sounds awfully like a very complex equation.
No. It's an algorithm.
Yeah.
It's an algorithm, yeah. A lot of people want to say linear regression is AI. It's not AI. But yeah, AI is like a new buzzword. So maybe, you see lots of teams saying, we use AI. And then you look at their race tactics and you're like, I don't need AI. I mean, you could just be like, maybe talk to the riders and say, don't pull on the flat when the competitor's in your wheel who's ahead of you on GC. But I'm not an
So do you have any more
artificial
ideas that you're going to
network.
just start plugging into this thing of stuff it could learn on?
I have a
Okay.
list.
Oh, okay.
I've got so many
Don't-
ideas.
Yeah,
I
don't reveal your big idea secrets. So anything you can say?
I think I can do a lot with like watts per kilo data, matching it to parkour, to figure out like what. Maybe it's not AI. Again, this could just be like not AI. I don't know. It doesn't have to be AI, but to be like, okay, we got in the Vuelta this climb. Here's the watts per kilo data of these riders from the database. Here's comparable climbs before and what happened. And this software should be able to spit out like, all right, they're going to do it between 5 minutes and 5:30. That's going to be between 7 and 7.5 watts per kilo. This rider is the best on this short efforts. With like, that's not that hard to do, surely. And you can manually figure that out yourself, but the software should be able to can just spit that out and make that much faster.
I wanted to mention this when we were talking about the broadcasting stuff. What don't you find, like, I listen to a lot of like NBA podcasts and just general sports chat stuff, and so much of their discussion points might be around statistics. So, you know, offensive efficiency or, you know, 3-point percentage, et cetera, and like defensive rankings and this sort of numbers. And it's interesting. Then you go and listen to a site, even you guys to an extent, but obviously you're trying to glean a bit more data. We're kind of missing the one statistic that everyone cares about when it comes to cycling, and it doesn't get talked about. And the only time we get to talk about it is it becomes almost hearsay. So I'm obviously talking about power, right? But then the first thing that happens when you sit down at the cafe, you're on a ride with people and you start talking about the race that you just watched, the first thing everyone talks about is, I heard Plappy did 490 up that for
everyone loves
4 minutes.
power.
And it's just, everyone just talks that talk. And there's this complete separation between the chat that everyone has in the bunch or at the cafe about a race and the actual chat that's happening during the race, because we don't get to see that. And I'm not talking about live data. I think that's not realistic. I don't actually care that much. But I think they could fill so much time on coverage with chat about like breaking down how Wollonga Hill went from a power profile perspective. Be like, oh, look, this is where, God, who was it? Who was riding the front for the first part? Mental blank. Harper. This is where Harper was riding like 540 for the first 2 minutes and blew himself up and came back. And then he stopped pedaling. But you can see that's why Yates didn't. Without those numbers, we're just kind of in the world of, oh, he was going too hard there, wasn't he? Oh, and then he laid off, you know? And I don't know. I just feel like that would be that would bring the cafe chatters a bit more into the coverage.
Yeah, I agree. I think power data it's really interesting to people. Like when we drop, like the Lantern Rouge website is not like it's not a cycling news. Like we don't put daily stuff up there. It's more like a blog for when we have a thing that can only be better communicated in written form, which is watts per kilo analysis articles. Those some of the Tour de France ones, they have like 80,000 page views.
Oh, mate, anytime you post something there, it tends to be a topic on our show. Like that's what our audience want to hear about when it comes to pro cycling.
Like Carlos does a great job with the articles. They're I think he writes in a very digestible way to help people understand, and so people really like them. And I'm like, well, surely they could talk about like people like comms next year for the tour will not talk about the difference between Jonas and Pogačar in some sort of numerical objective data sense. They'll just be like, this stage is kind of good for him, that stage is kind of good for him. They won't be like, on Col du Grenelle, and like the numbers I think we've put, I mean, they just don't have the data like as well. So, I mean, I've offered to license the data to race organizers. So when a climb comes up, you know, they show the profile when the riders start the climb. you could also then have a graphic that shows like the climbing records, like the best 3, and the watts per kilo for those as the climb starts.
And even in review, like there's so much dead time in pro cycling coverage where they could go back and talk about what took place the day before and have it go beyond he was feeling good.
That Wollonga stage, do you think Chris Harper could have won if he just sent it from the bottom and no one followed him?
No, probably not. I think Jayco, basically Yates should have gone straight off the bat. He should have got Harper to pull 2-3 minutes super hard. Because Jayco had it lined out. Del Toro was in really bad position. I think Narvaez was there, but Narvaez doesn't climb as well as Yates. He needed the stage to play out exactly as it did, which is essentially like late attack from Yates in the last 2 minutes, stop, people come back, recover. Like, he's not a pure climber. Yates should have, I think, Harper full gas lead out, go port style, because that's how you're going to win. That's the only way I can see how you can win. And it's a tailwind too. Guys are out of position. Suddenly you got a 10-meter gap. They look at each other. But he did. So yeah, disappointing week for Jayco. But yeah, I think it was interesting still seeing different guys like Del Toro, and still I think it was high quality.
Oh, they were like 1 second off Port's KOM.
Yeah, big tailwind though.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Port's the GOAT.
I was a bit hard on. I've been a bit hard on Luke Platt not hard on him, but when he first joined Jayco, I was a bit like, oh, okay, you'll have more freedom, but they're not going to have the support on paper than INEOS would. And then also just the way he was talking up before
got less freedom. He's clear, GC rider. He's clear with Narvaez. Doesn't pull. What? Waiting for a Ewan to sprint or not sprint?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one example. When I'm saying that, though, when I'm saying he won't have the support he had at INEOS, so he'll get more freedom, but it's harder for him on paper. Is that based on anything? Like, because you're in that team sphere, you see the behind the scenes. That's what I'm asking you. I'm saying it in terms of, like, staff, access to testing. Is there still big differences there, or am I just clinging on to things from 6 years ago?
Oh, between teams, yeah, but Jayco's TT setup's pretty shit hot. Like, that's a fast setup, so I don't see a massive difference there. And INEOS's is obviously very fast.
Would he have taken his same coach? He would have had to change coaches probably, because I know INEOS coached all in-house.
I don't know. I don't know how Jayco work, because some teams, as you say, they let the riders can be coached by a coach who is like an independent who coaches across multiple teams, riders across multiple teams. To me, that is just like unbelievable. That's not how Visma work. It's not how INEOS work. Like, I don't see how that's possible. Because I just don't. that doesn't really happen in other sports, I don't think. So, but I don't know how it works at Jayco. I presume he might be. I mean, he's got Pinotti there. I think it's a good setup for him. I just think sometimes they're very slow to adjust based on what's happening on the road versus what a rider's name is, how much they're paying him. And they do the same thing over and over again. Despite what we're seeing is that you should do something different, because they're not who you think they are.
So you're kind of looking at, your potential concern would be actual in-race tactics you think have been off.
Yeah. Like if Plapp goes to a race with Groenewegen and it's like a lumpy race where the GC boys, they might kick off, they might not kick off. They kick off and Plapp goes clear with a group of 3 and Dylan's trying to hang on. Based on what we've seen in the Dauphiné and previous races the last 2 years, Plapp should be allowed to do what he wants and ride for his GC result, because Groenewegen can't climb. And even if he does get over the group, he won't be able to sprint. I think some teams are like, today we go for the sprinter. And it doesn't matter that the stage plays out completely different because Del Toro goes crazy, and today we go for the sprinter. It's all teams, they have their plans. They got the high-paid riders.
I just, as well, like what I was probably getting at more is I look at a month at altitude. Can Jayco monitor that and
Oh.
have that as productive as a Jumbo or an INEOS? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think so. Simon Yates beat Carlos Rodriguez in the Tour last year. He came fourth. Jayco operating on a much smaller budget than INEOS, but yeah, there's probably they got less soigneurs. You know, he's not going to have all that extra 1%ers, but if he's happier, if he feels more emotionally supported or in a environment that's right for him, or where he can be in Australia a little bit longer during the year, and that makes him happier in training, then that's going to outweigh any of those 1%ers.
Do you think that he would have taken a pay cut to go back to Jayco, or he would have got like an Australian bonus?
No, I don't think so. Well, but he would have been on his Neo Pro contract at INEOS.
Right.
And he still has
Okay.
promise. So he came second in UAE Tour last year.
There was discussion. There was just people on Twitter kind of saying, "Oh, well, he got kicked off. He got booted from INEOS." Or I was kind of what? Like he?
No. That would have been
Yeah. Okay.
that would have been his choice, for sure. And obviously,
Yeah.
INEOS said, "Okay, like you can go," but
Yeah.
no, he had a year on his contract.
Because that's you joined a team that almost got booted out of the World Tour.
Yeah. But
I don't see how. Like, there's got to be differences behind the scenes that are accounting for that, or is it just a money thing that are?
like, I think you're overrating INEOS. Yeah, they got history. Yeah, the great GC team, but they're not that good for their budget. That's the reality. For their budget and the rise they have, their results are not that good. But do you think Jayco get Hindley or O'Connor next year? Do they need an Australian GC contender? Yates out of contract.
Do they not think that's Plap?
Fair point. They'll be hoping it is. Yeah, because then you don't need to go spend on a guy that's come fourth in the Tour and a guy that's won the Giro.
We got another hour and we're Rogan territory. I don't know how he does it. That's fucking impressive, and they're engaging too. Like, I'll do a 3-hour Rogan.
I've never listened to one.
I thought that'd be in your wheelhouse.
What is in the LR wheelhouse?
Like, what do I...
Actually,
Like, what would I listen to?
yeah, or listen to or watch. What's on the protocol?
Like, I don't watch television. Oh, pardon my take. Yeah, American sports stuff.
Chat show stuff like first takey type Stephen A stuff,
No. Like the step above that, but not too far. So like Fangraphs baseball on the statistics stuff, where you like, mention more stats in American sports. That is just too far. Like, I start listening to it and all they're talking is in acronyms. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Pardon my take is good, obviously, like the biggest sports podcast in the world. And then I love listening to BS Report back in the day. I don't listen so much anymore. I'm trying to look at my...
Why don't we see more athlete podcasts in cycling? Like, it's a bit of a meme in the NBA now. It's like you get signed to an NBA team and you start a podcast, right? Whereas, like, I think we've got
Oh, G's got one.
G's got one.
His is big too. That's like a proper.
Yeah.
That's up there in the rankings if you look
But
it
it's
Yeah.
But it's big.
I think he does 40, 50K downloads.
Yeah, which shows there's an audience for it. And really, maybe I am missing a few, but there doesn't seem to be many others that are sort of being done.
Would you listen to them?
Well, you see, I have a theory that most cyclists wouldn't really give us the stuff we want to hear, because kind of most pro cyclists are a bit insecure about their position and training. G's different. He's like the OG, like he's happy.
Yeah, he's in the right career.
Yeah, he's at the end of the career. Whereas if you're like, I don't know.
We tried to pitch Remco
Yeah.
on Benji doing a weekly podcast in Dutch with.
Oh my God.
It would crush numbers in Belgium. It would crush.
He's trying to win the Tour de France. I don't think he cares.
Exactly. Like, I mean, why would he also do that? Like, okay, say from our perspective, you could get some great brand deals, right?
Oh.
Like big money, but to him, it's nowhere near his rider contract, and he's going to have to split it.
Mm.
And it's going to be a distraction, and sports are going to be writing articles about it. So it's like, why in that point of your career would you do it? Whereas Thomas, I think, is thinking, I got this podcast I built sitting right there for when I retire in 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think probably someone, I don't know if it was his idea to start it or how reluctant he was to do it, but I think now he must really see the value in it.
Well, it's like the Kelsey brothers. Both of them had no idea what they were going to do after football, and now they've both probably got the biggest sports podcast in the world, at least the biggest athlete one. Jesse's just gone, what the hell are you talking about? Anyway, he's dating Taylor Swift.
Travis Kelce dating Taylor Swift. But is that plot actually good?
Yeah, good question. Don't know the answer to that. I haven't actually.
Because I have no interest in tuning in.
When you're big enough, it doesn't matter. Like if Tadej Pogacar did a podcast and it was kind of slop, people would still listen because it's Tadej Pogacar.
Patrick, thank you so much for your time. Obviously, big year ahead for you. We'll be looking forward to seeing what yourself and Benji are doing in the studio and out on the road, by the sounds of things as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for your time, Jesse, and we'll see you real soon.
Thanks, bro.